hope that all of you will not only be able to enjoy our time of worship together, but that you'll be able to stay for our picnic and celebration afterwards too. There's fun games, and we're going to have somebody who makes animals and shapes out of balloons, all sorts of fun activities. To start our conversation this morning, I brought something I wanted to show you. You see, I'm holding up this piece of cut glass. Can any of you see any colors in this glass? If you think you see a color, raise your hand. What color do you see? Green. Okay. What color do you see? A purple. You see blue. What do you see? A bluish purple. Yeah. Pink. Yeah. Green. Someone said. You see green? Yeah. There's lots of pretty colors in here. Where are these colors coming from? Are they inside this glass? Where are they coming from? From where? The lights? Are there green lights and purple lights coming this way? Where do the lights come from? From that paper up there? So the colors are coming from there? From right on those pictures? Yeah? What do you think? The lights, the colors are coming from the stained glass. Ah, what do you think? There are many, many colors that we can see, right? In this little piece of cut glass. But you know, these colors aren't coming from the glass itself. They're not coming from the stained glass windows. They're coming from the light that's all around us. Because the light that surrounds us every single day is made up of all these different colors. We don't usually see those colors, not until something special happens, like when the light goes through a piece of cut glass, and then actually the waves of the light bend a little bit, and that bending separates the different waves, and we can see that light is not white, and it's not kind of clear and visible. It's actually the combination of all different colors. Excellent. So this little piece of glass that's cut, called a prism, helps us see the true nature of light. The light that's around us right now doesn't look like there are colors in it, but it's full of colors. There are at least 5 different colors in the light spectrum. Right? There's violet, and there's indigo, like a purplish color. So you can see that in there. There's blue. There's green. There's yellow. There's orange. There's red. All those different colors in light. You know, for years and years, people didn't know that. People thought light was white. And when they would look at something like this, they thought, oh, all those beautiful colors must be inside this crystal. And it was only after people studied light more that they realized that these colors are inside the crystal. These colors are coming from light, shooting through the glass and being bent, and so we can see what light is really made of. I brought this in today, not only because it's pretty, but because it can remind us of something very, very important. We're going to be celebrating light, not only today, but throughout our year together. That's why we have this wonderful sculpture above us, this beautiful dove that reflects light too. And if you look at it a certain way, you can also see the colors because the light is being bent through those little pieces up there. And if you're far, far away, you can hardly tell that we have a sculpture up here. And sometimes it sparkles, it's brilliant. Light will do that. We will find many ways to celebrate the gift of light throughout this year. And I want us to remember to learn about Jesus as we celebrate God. Because Jesus, we said, came to help us better see God. Just like this prism helps us see that light is made up of many, many colors, and it's not just plain white. Jesus shows us what God is like. That's what we said, that God sent Jesus so that we would know what God is like. And so as we learn about Jesus, and we learn that Jesus cared for people who were sick and wanted them to be healed, then we know that God is that way. When we learn about Jesus, and we learn that Jesus was very, very forgiving, and he understood and wanted to give people a second chance, we understand that God is that way. The creator of the universe and all that is that way, like Jesus. When we see that Jesus wanted everybody to have enough food to eat, for everybody to be fed, then we know that God is that way as well. When we know that Jesus wanted people to be kind to each other and understanding, and we know that God is that way as well. When we see Jesus spending time with people who are overlooked and forgotten, then we know that God doesn't overlook us or others. And so the more we learn about Jesus, the more we're able to see God. Just like the more we look at a prism like this, we can see that light is made up of many wonderful, wonderful colors. Jesus is like our prism. And so I hope that not only today, but in the days and weeks and months ahead, we'll continue to come and celebrate the life that we share, the life that God has made possible, and we'll continue to learn about Jesus. And when we learn about Jesus, we'll better understand how God is present all around us and is working in our lives, in your life, in my life today. Thank you for being with me today. Yes? for a young man. His family is an active and important part of our community of faith. He was just a few days shy of his 23rd birthday when he died. And he didn't have an easy life during those 23 years. He was born prematurely, spent the first 6 months of his life in the neonatal intensive care unit at Bay State. Right from birth, there were questions if he would survive. By the time he was a year old, he had multiple surgeries. He lived with cerebral palsy, brain damage, and underwent numerous hip surgeries throughout his lifetime. At one point, some members of his family spent 45 days with him at the Boston Medical Center. His healthcare providers and family members had to do almost everything for him. Feed him, bathe him, help him go to the bathroom, carry him up and down the stairs. The most basic things in life, the things most all of us take for granted. And the extraordinary thing to me while accompanying his family some after his death was learning how even though this young man couldn't walk and he couldn't talk, he had given so much to others. People who came to know him said over and over again how blessed they were to have had the opportunity to meet him and to spend time with him and to know him. There was a book left out on his bed after he died at the care facility where he had been living, and people were invited to leave messages or notes in it. And what struck me, because I had the privilege to read through this book and read some of these notes, was that without being able to say a word, this young man had the power to change people's lives. Over and over again, people wrote messages bearing witness to this. Even though this young man needed so much, depended upon others, so much, he had given a great deal to all those around him. Even though his family cared for him constantly, he gave his family many, many gifts, happy, playful, joyful times. He had a tremendous smile, a beaming smile, a playfulness about him that radiated in a rich spirit. He had much to teach others about life, about the power of the powerless, the mystery and blessing of each and every life, the sacred mystery of life. And during the memorial service, a neighbor of his, a pastor and friend, many of you know her, Reverend Dr. Jan Berto, shared some of her own memories and impressions of Zachary. But when she had finished, she took out a prism and she placed it on the table that we had put at the top of the steps as an altar for him. And as she did, she explained why. She shared with everyone how Zachary was like a prism to her, how his life helped her see and better understand things that she wouldn't have been able to see or understand without knowing him. It was a very powerful and appropriate image, one that I will remember for the rest of my life. I recall this experience that prepared for our Trinity Sunday celebration today and our focus on the theme of light for our new year together. A prism, as we shared with the children, can serve as a wonderful metaphor to help us better understand some very important aspects of our faith. I assume that you know how a prism works. It reveals the fuller nature of the light that surrounds us. It makes visible what had otherwise been invisible to us. Strictly speaking, a prism is a transparent optical element with flat, polished surfaces placed at certain angles to to each other, and these surfaces refract. I had to look that word up, which means bend. Light as the light passes through them. Before Isaac Newton, it was believed that light was colorless, and that a prism actually produced the different colors that could be seen when light moved through it. Newton's experiments, however, demonstrated that all the different colors already existed in the light. And others improved upon Newton's work, eventually proving that the colors seen are the visible manifestations of light's different wavelengths. We've learned that although light seems to be white, it's actually made up of waves of different colors, all combined, all added together. Different color wavelengths are bent by different amounts as the light passes through a prism. So they come out of the prism at slightly different angles or directions. And that's how the waves are separated, so we can see the different colors, so that what was invisible becomes visible. For us, the colors on the spectrum of light, like we learned them when we were young, are violet, which bends the most, indigo and blue, and green, and yellow, orange, and red, which bends the least. A prism helps us more fully appreciate what light is truly like, what light is actually made of. A prism helps us better understand the complexity and the nature and the beauty of light. It helps us see what otherwise would remain hidden to us. A prism helps us more fully appreciate the experience and presence that is all around us every single day. For me, this is an interesting metaphor for Jesus. Because Jesus came to show us who and what God is like. This is the audacious claim made by our spiritual ancestors. And we heard it in the Gospel of John that Nate just shared with us. If you know me, you will know the Father also. That's quite a statement. From now on, you do know him and have seen him. You know, it's a great story. Philip goes on. He says, Jesus, Lord, show us the Father, and we'll be satisfied. Jesus responds, I can imagine him shaking his head. Philip, have I been with you all this time? And you still don't know me? Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. Now, whether or not Jesus actually said this or not is really immaterial. Because if it's not Jesus' own words, it's certainly the witness of the early Christian community. The earliest followers of Christ. These people believed that in seeing Jesus, they had seen something of God. They believed that Jesus helped them better understand the complexity and beauty and nature of God. They believed that Jesus helped them better understand who God is and what God is like. They believed that Jesus helped them see what had previously remained invisible. They believed that Jesus helped them better appreciate the experience of presence that was all around them every single day. To the members of the early church, Jesus was the window, revealing as much of God as is given mortal eyes to see, like a prism with light. The words of the late great pastor and prophet, Reverend Dr. William Sloane Coffin, when Christians see Christ, we read the stories of the Gospels, empowering the weak, scorning the powerful, healing the wounded, judging their tormentors. We're seeing transparently the power of God at work. For what is ultimately important is not that Christ is God-like, but that God is Christ-like. God is like Christ. That's what we need to know. Like a prism, revealing more of the true nature of life. The life of Jesus helps us more fully appreciate and understand who God is and how God works in this world. Now, this is a very important claim, because it means as we become more familiar with the life of Jesus, we can better appreciate in our own lives where and how we might encounter a fuller experience of God, the creator of the universe. To say that God's love was revealed in Jesus, and hence that God is Jesus-like, is to particularize the universal and show certain attributes of God. For example, it's to say that God has a special concern for the poor and the powerless. It's throughout the Gospels. So much so that God's own well-being is partly dependent upon their well-being. It's to say that God is non-violent, even to the point of suffering violence without responding in return. imperative. Why? Because Jesus lived this way. It's to say that God is forgiving, even to the point of forgiving the most heinous of crimes against one another and the earth. It's to say that God is healing even to the point of offering possibilities for hope amid the most deadly of despairs. And the truth of Christianity is not some abstract idea. In Christ, we've been given an opportunity to see the colors of God. The living reality of this all-adaptive, all-suffering, all-forgiving, all-embracing, all-renewing God. The nature of God was revealed in the life, death, and resurrection of a carpenter from Galilee. Christianity begins and ends with this insight and this proclamation. So, with this prism of faith, you and I can better direct our own energies and priorities in life to make the most of this gift that we have been given. For example, if Jesus spent time traveling lightly on this earth and warning others of the dangers of becoming overburdened by their possessions, well, then we should try to live simply too, if we would like our spirits to reflect the light of God more fully. If Jesus spent time in prayer, we should too, if we want the light of God to fill us more completely. If Jesus spent time with the outcast, the misunderstood, the excluded, the overlooked, then we should, if we would like to encounter the light of God more powerfully in our lives. If Jesus urged his followers to love their enemies and pray for those who persecute them, then so should we, because this is how the light of God shines through us more fully. I'm not saying it's easy, but this is how the light shines. If Jesus healed the sick and cast out demons by the hand of God, then when we're sick or feel possessed, then we should know that God is close by and eager to help us be set free from these forms of bondage. If Jesus was persecuted and eventually killed for trying to do the right thing, for trying to love, but rose again, then we too can trust God this deeply with our own lives when we try to do the right thing, but are persecuted for it. When we too will rise again above the lies and the abuse and the ignorance and the viciousness that tries to frustrate God's purposes on earth being enacted through us. God's very Spirit will fill us and raise us up too. Do you see how it works? When we trust the way of Jesus, we're aligning our lives more closely with how God is in the world. This is our claim as Christians, placing ourselves in a position where we will more clearly reflect the true color, all the colors, and the beauty of God. Because Zachary did this, and we can too. And so, my friends, I look forward to this new year with all of you. Who knows what life or God has in store for us? But may our shared life help each of us better reflect the light of God that is present in this world and that surrounds us. May our commitment to Christ help others see what had before seemed invisible. May you and I continue to dance with the light and invite the light to dance with us.